Hey YouTube, so my name's Rodia, and today we're going to talk about mental health, my experience in this country, battling mental health issues, and where I'm at today. I'm going to have me a little cocktail that I made. It's not perfect, but I like it. It's good. So, anyway, okay, so I titled this video Radical Privilege, Modern Education because that's been my experience in this country. So, like, I come from a multicultural background. Most of the people in my family are Black or African American. We have Middle Eastern ancestry, we have white or European ancestry. Our European ancestry is very interesting. On my dad's side of the family, um, his family were enslaved peoples in North Carolina, and they have British ancestry, and that is where I get my last name from. There's a town in England, I think it's in England, yeah, it's in Britain, a little small town called Soapshire. I don't even know why I know this, but I know it, okay? Um, and they have a manor, it's called Pitchford Manor. And the Pitchford Manor was originally a Tudor, like, place, building, castle, whatever, and the Pitchford family inherited it. Um, and they had a young descendant named William who traveled to the New World. And William, or Bill, got lost, and was like the ship that he was on crashed. He was on the shore of North Carolina. He was the youngest, and I think one of the sole survivors, and they called him Lost Billy. He ended up, growing up, becoming a sharecropper, getting enslaved people, buying them, being a slave owner, having children, and some of those children he had were mixed race, people who were in his in servitude of him. That's the best way I can put it. Okay. So it's a very, like, obviously painful history, but it was something that I wanted to look up, I guess, at one point in time, and I have it. That I have the information. So uh so that's my dad's family, and we inherited land, and my native ancestry comes from my dad as well, because there's a were two or three large native tribes in North Carolina. So that's all we have from his family. My mom's family were free people of color, um, and some of them claim to be indigenous, but doing further research, they were Melungeon, and um, some of them had, like, just intermarried with immigrants. And I have a descendant that is Middle Eastern from Yemen. That was a little bit hard to look up, but I will provide documentation one day. I don't like to just put stuff out about my family and not like talk to them. Like, I do have documents online. Like, if you can even go to ancestry.com, and I did a whole, like, family tree of my dad's family. It was hard to do my mom's lineage on her dad's side because all of their ages are wrong on a census. Like, everybody's age is all screwed up. But we come from a multicultural, like, family. And aside from the Yemeni ancestry that I found that we have, from my mom's side, and again, her African American ancestors and people were free people of color. They may have been enslaved at one point in time, but I couldn't go back that far. So they were free people of color for a very long time. And one thing that I found is that my great grandmother, my mom's mother, was mixed race. So her father was from Sweden, and he's he was a sailor, and he came here and met my, I guess, great great grandmother. And obviously he gave up my great grandmother to an orphanage. Um, Went on to be a sailor, got married to a white woman, and had a whole like white family who reconnected with my brother. And it's a very interesting story. But as you can see, this is the layers and textures of my family tree on both ends. Okay. With that, the brokenness, the oppression, and everything, obviously, it comes with layers of like mental health struggles. Okay. And we have immense privilege. People in my community, people who have similar stories, we do have immense privilege today, but you know, we don't have the proper education to self regulate, manage, and we're not accommodated. Like mental health is not where it needs to be. And we're such a developed country. You would think it needs to be, but it isn't, especially for people of color. And you would almost have to curate and like manage your healthcare team. So I've had to fight with providers, get multiple opinions about like what I'm struggling with, and so on and so forth, because of the lack of knowledge and education that's there, and also the lack of accommodation. Like we fought in the past for people who are physically disabled, but to be accommodated. But we haven't really gone the route of accommodating people with mental illness. We're starting with autism and Asperger's, um, which is wonderful that, you know, people who may get overstimulated, who are not neurotypical, who, you know, need to shop differently, travel differently on public transportation. Some places here in the United States are accommodating people with Asperger's and autism and how they travel publicly and how they shop and how they're educated. So that's great. But we also have people who have bipolar disorder, BPD, OCD, major depression, and anxiety. And while it may sound like a little bit far out to like suggest that there's a way to accommodate people rather than just reversing trauma, I think it would be better to pair people with individuals and put them in certain places where they can live a seemingly normal life but have better support. So, for example, I've had to be conscious about what type of jobs I have, where I live, how I arrange my house, and I have multiple therapists online and people in my family who are aware of my triggers, and it helps me. I have OCD, I have anxiety and depression, I have PTSD, and that is the one thing that makes it very difficult for me to lead a normal life is the PTSD. But if you read my description, you know I've been through a lot, and that's kind of where it comes from. I know people will judge me. That's, you know, this world wants to exploit women of color, silence us, or, you know, just, I don't know. I don't know. But I felt the need to make a video about starting or having a better conversation about how to accommodate people with mental health struggles, because I feel like after a particular age, like, so after maybe age 26 or 27, the trauma that you have, you carry with you. It does change you, but you can lead a seemingly normal life and a fulfilling life if you understand that and you're given the resources to work with what you have, and you understand, or you can at least have it within you to request the proper accommodations so that you're not triggered, so that you can produce and like be productive to the best of your ability. Unfortunately, we also live in a society that wants to profit off any and everything. So, you have to combat that as well. So, I explain, like, let me just explain it. So, when knowing what I know about our various communities, I wouldn't say, oh, let's just remove their radical privilege because it serves as a distraction. I would say, why not give them more education, quality education, not indoctrination? Instead of us having to hunt for it. I mean, really, really, I've had to hunt and dig for the, proper education. One of the most developed societies, one of the societies or, countries in this world that's not only developed but um there's just like people are mentally happy, they're happy with their government, is Sweden. And I have Swedish ancestry and I told my partner, I'm like, honey, I want to see if I could get my citizenship. It may not happen, but if this country is as good as people are saying it is, maybe when we get older we can retire there. In the meantime, we're here. So anyway, they are feminists. So a lot of people, they have problems with individuals who um, support women in power, women working, women exploring their liberties or whatever. And that's a developed country. I think is like top number one when it comes to mental health. And I think it's because, well, let's, considering women's rights, prioritizing mental health. On top of that, the family, people who have children in Sweden, I believe, they get to take off extra time, and it's very much based on producing, having, having quality care for your children. Um, yeah, they're religious. I think they're Christian, and they have, I think, predominantly Lutheran faith or denomination. Okay, I'm not a Christian, I a spiritualist, but I do believe in God. I was raised Methodist. So if you compare the two churches, there's some similarities there, the two denominations. But anyway, I was raised Methodist and I transitioned to spiritualism, which works better for my lifestyle and for my whole processing, because there's a lot of people that evangelize here in the United States, and Americans are very, very extroverted. Okay, and so you may feel like I felt oppression. Okay, people pushing their beliefs onto me and all of that. But anyway, I just I know that we can't fully compare ourselves to a country that's far smaller than us, but I do think that this idea that our nation would be better if we strengthen patriarchy and we get rid of feminism, I think that a route isn't going to do us any justice. It has nothing to do with masculinity or femininity. It has a lot to do with the fact that we are immensely privileged and we don't have proper knowledge. So the knowledge that we're given is more so indoctrination. It serves people that have most of the wealth in this country, and we work for them. I mean, it began when I was like in like grade school, So with Apple computers, and learning techs and all of the home economics and the carpentry classes and how to grow food and agricultural classes were cut from my school. So I think that young people are being directed when it comes to improving this nation. I think young people are being misguided, and I think they're being misguided for a reason. So I would like to have more conversations about mental health. It's not about how men are being made to be weak and women are strong, and that's the imbalance. I think it has to do with the fact that people are not given proper knowledge on how to self manage, and there's a lot of trauma in various communities where a large country and people are very much multi ethnic. So you got like a blend of different customs and cultures clashing and on top of trauma, and it can make things difficult. So, what do you guys think? Comment below.